Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a new video. If this is your first time, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you're a returning viewer, don't forget to hit the like button and drop a comment if you like what I'm about. So basically, a while ago I did a video where I talked about my experience as a PhD candidate in Germany here, and I got a comment asking me to make a follow-up to discuss some challenges I face as a PhD student. So that's what this video is about. So let's get right into it. So in terms of challenges I faced as a PhD student, this is my second year. I'm wrapping up my second year of my PhD, so I have like maybe 2 or 3 years to go. One of the biggest challenges I faced in this PhD was the fact that I was moving from from my current field to a new field entirely. So for those who know, as in Nigeria, I studied electrical engineering in my bachelor's degree. So I came to Germany and I did geophysics in the MSc, and I'm also doing a PhD in geophysics. And these are two completely different fields. The only thing that unites these two fields is mathematics. Beyond that, it's different concepts. So it was a new field for me, and it meant that I had to learn a lot quickly. While I was catching up on the mathematical and the computer programming aspects, I also had to cover up a lot of knowledge in geology. And up to today, I still have to cover up a lot of knowledge in geology and even geophysics. So things about the earth processes and stuff like that, I wasn't very familiar with them. But right now, I have much more familiarity because I spent many months studying by myself to gather this kind of knowledge. So I guess the first challenge was the fact that I was moving to a new field. Then the second thing about the PhD that's challenging, is that there's this swim or sink mentality in a PhD. It's either you are able to swim and cope with it, or you just fall by the wayside. It's a very challenging few years when you do a PhD. The work you have to do is a lot. The challenges are much. The pressure is high. If you are not technically sound, then the PhD might not be the right thing for you. It might not be the right thing for a person. You must be the kind of person that you maybe in a way enjoy challenges, and you are open to breaking down new boundaries and learning new stuff very, very quickly. So something else I noticed about my PhD throughout my experience is that when you're doing a PhD, you have colleagues who are senior to you, and you have your advisor also. You can always ask them for help on anything regarding your project. You can always talk to them and say, I need help with XYZ. But they will only take you seriously if you ask for help after spending a lot of time on your own, trying to figure it out. And for me, coming from Nigeria, it's something that I wasn't used to, because I didn't do any kind of big project in Nigeria before, or also because in Nigeria, we have this culture where we are very eager to help the next person, It's very easy for you to go and meet the best students in the class to say, teach me this thing, instead of sitting down on your own to figure it out for some time before going to meet the person. So it's very easy for you to say, oh, this guy is the best student in the class, let him go and do tutorial for all of us, and let all of us sit down and listen to what he has to say, But when you start a PhD in a place like Germany here, you realize that you need to be independent very, very quickly. So you can ask questions, definitely, but people only take you seriously if you come to them and say, instead of saying, please show me how to write this code, I want to write a code that does XYZ, show me how to write it. They wouldn't take it seriously. They might help you once or twice, but they begin to avoid you. They'll prefer it if you say, oh, I want to write a code that does XYZ, and I've written this code up to this point. I try to compile the code and I get this error. And they say, oh, what's the error? And they look at the code and they sort out the error for you. So they're okay with pointing out some errors in your work, but they're not okay with creating the work for you. And I understand this because everybody's also very, very busy. So that's something else one needs to consider about if you want to do a PhD here. Then one thing that's also challenging about the PhD is that you need to have or exhibit an independence in your thoughts in terms of your ideas. So before, as a bachelor student, you just go study for the whole semester and write an exam at the end of the day. As an MSc student, you do the same thing, and maybe when it's time to write a thesis, you work for 6 months or 9 months, and you work closely with your advisor or another PhD student or a senior PhD student, and they just give you a small task that you can finish in that short period of time. In a PhD, it's different. You need to show initiative in creating your own tasks. You need to show initiative in creating techniques that help you, access your tasks. So as an example, in my PhD work, I'm trying to compare the discrepancies between chaotic systems, and I basically met some kind of characterization norms for what I'm doing. But to take my work to the next level, I need to think about different ways of quantifying these discrepancies, and nobody can help me with this. So what do? I start to read papers. I start to, ask questions left and right, and I then create my own new quantification techniques or quantification methods, and I present this to my advisor. So your advisor is not going to tell you this is what you should do. You would want to sit down yourself and say, okay, you know what? I'm trying to compare the discrepancy between two chaotic systems. Apart from taking an L1 norm, what else can I do? Okay, I can take a spherical harmonic norm. What else can I do? I can measure the correlation between the two models. You begin to think like this. And when you think of anything, you then sit down and write the code that solves that problem. So something else you need to do as a PhD candidate that's challenging is that you need to question your results, because there's no right or wrong answer in a PhD, unlike a BSc exam or MSc exam where the answer is at the back of the book. There's no answer for a PhD. So when you do something, you need to look at that result and look at it and say, is this thing correct, or am I making a mistake somewhere? I'll give you an example. There was a time I made some plots. I was looking at two chaotic systems, and I computed spherical harmonic norms to compute the difference between these two systems. And I plotted the graph of this. The graph showed me the general trend I wanted to see, but the graph was looking very weird. I didn't think about it. I was like, okay, I have the trend, that's all I want to see. But the graph was looking weird, I didn't care. My advisor came to look at my work, and he saw the trend. He was happy to see that trend, but he was surprised that my graph was looking the way it looked. And he says, Ayo, have you thought about why this is like this? And I was like, I don't know. I think it's okay. And I was like, no, it's not okay. So he left, and I went back to my code to see what was wrong. When I was looking through the code, I got to a particular portion of the code, it was one line. I discovered that it was that one single line of my code that was messing up the entire workflow for me. It was giving me the correct trend, but basically a wrong graph. So I fixed this line of code, and I plotted my graphs again, and I saw that I had the correct trend, but I also had the correct shape for the graph. And I showed my advisor, and he was like, okay, what did you change? I told him that, okay, you know what, I know you're going to be disappointed in me for this kind of silly mistake, but this is it. But he told me that, no, that's not a problem, We always learn. As a PhD student, it's one of the things you do. You learn and you learn and you learn. So you need to always question your results, and it's something that's challenging. You have so many results, and you have to look at each thing one more time, or even twice, or even thrice, depending on the amount of, depending on how big the project is, So that's something else I found to be very challenging in my PhD. Something else that was a challenge for me, and it's going to be a challenge for people majorly in the sciences, is that if you're doing a PhD in the sciences today, even if you're a biologist, to a point, to an extent, you'd have to write code. You need to be able to program in any of the languages that you use in your research group. So coming into my PhD program, or into my MSc also, I wasn't very strong in programming because I didn't develop the skills in Nigeria. And so when I got there, I started the PhD. I had to spend some time learning how to code. We use Fortran because of its efficiencies in parallelization. I had to learn Fortran again and see how to think in a programmatic sense. And I also had to learn the message passing interface, which is something else, entirely. So it took me a lot of time to gather this knowledge. My colleagues who are from Europe or from America, they already knew how to program because they have this system where even from high school they learn these things, from secondary school they learn these things. But for me, it wasn't the case. So while I was learning geophysics and settling to my PhD, I was also learning how to program very, very quickly. And of course, this is a challenging thing. You want to do what you want to rest, you want to have fun with your friends, but you also have to devote your time to this thing because you're getting paid every month for this thing that you're doing. So any Nigerian watching this video, any African watching this video, I suggest that you begin to learn how to program. It's a very, very important skill. It's something that you definitely need when you come to do a PhD abroad. So something else that it's a challenge, but it's a nice thing, but it's also a challenge, when you're doing a PhD, is the freedom to work when you want. So I basically define my own times. The only times that I must be there at a particular time is when I have a meeting with my advisor, or we have a seminar presentation or something where I have to be there. Otherwise, you can set your own time. Some people come in late and leave late. Some people come in very early and leave also early. So you need to, this freedom is good, but this freedom can also ruin you because you feel like, okay, nobody's really monitoring me. Let me just sleep at home. Let me just party. Let me just do X, Y, Z. I can always catch up with my work. Before you know it, 1 year is gone. Before you know it, 2 years are gone, and the PhD is almost over. So this freedom to work when you want is also an evil if you look at it from the flip side. So something else that it's a challenge from the PhD is that a PhD is a very stressful program. So it takes its toll on your mental health. you are under pressure to publish papers, you realize that you have only a short period of time to finish your PhD, and you also realize that your friends who went to industry after their MSCs or after their BSCs, they are making more money than you. So you are thinking about all these things, like you're not getting enough money, you're thinking that you're under pressure to publish, you're thinking that you're under pressure to finish your PhD. If you cannot take the time to calm yourself down, realize that everything is fine, it's going to take a toll on your mental health. And this is something that people need to watch out for when they want to start a PhD. Something else is that okay, now I want to talk about something that I don't do, but some people do. For me, one of the ways I deal with the pressure of the PhD and the mental part is that I don't hang out with many PhD students. I have friends that are doing PhDs also in my department, but I don't hang out with them. I don't have lunch with them. For me, this is a way of coping with it mentally. When you sit down with people and you're eating lunch and the only thing you're talking about is your PhD project, their PhD project, for me, it's frustrating. I want to have lunch and talk about boxing or talk about any other thing. But you sit down with people and they talk about their research work, their poster, their paper, for me, it's a no-go. So I usually, apart from the fact that I like to watch my calories when I eat, so I try to bring my own food or I buy stuff and eat on my own. I don't hang out with PhD students because many times we talk about projects. But the good part about a PhD is that a PhD helps you buy time to think about the future. So don't do a PhD because you want to buy time for the future. No. But if you're doing a PhD, one of the perks is that it gives you opportunity to buy that time and think about what you want to do. So you have basically a 4 or 5 year period where you can say, okay, you know what skills do I need to develop to be employable in the future? And then while you're working on your PhD, you can begin to develop those skills. So this is the chance that somebody who does his MSc and goes to the job market doesn't have. So you can actually build a very strong profile for yourself by using that time of the PhD to also develop some skills on the side, which I urge everybody who wants to do a PhD to do. So something else is that when you do a PhD, you don't have enough time. And it may happen that you will not be able to keep in touch with your family as much as you want. So sometimes I have high pressure weeks, and I just go to work early, come back late, go to boxing, come back home, and I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to sleep. And my family will call me from home and say, oh, Ayo, I think and I have to explain to them that, it's not my fault, it's this work, and then sometimes it's sad because your parents want to talk to you, your family want to talk to you, but you don't have the time to talk to them. So finally, one thing about a PhD is that a PhD is a highly specialized degree. You become an expert in a very, very narrow field. For me, for example, when I finish my PhD, I hope to become an expert in understanding chaotic systems and linking these systems to geological observations. But that's a very, very niche area, and I'm going to be an expert in that area. But when it comes to other areas around, I wouldn't know much about these things. So unlike an MSc or a BSc where you get the general knowledge, a PhD is much more restrictive in what you are going to learn. So PhD emphasizes depth instead of breadth. The BSc and the MSc emphasize breadth instead of depth. So you go deep in a topic, you become an expert in that topic, but you don't really know much about anything else. And that's why, for me, it's very important that for myself, I see the big picture of my work, I develop extra skills, and I urge anybody who wants to do a PhD to look at it this way also. Yeah, you're going to be an expert in a particular topic, but try your best to gain knowledge on topics that are not related to your PhD, so you can be employable after the PhD. So basically, these are all the things I would say are my challenges or my experiences from doing a PhD so far. If you want me to discuss something else about the PhD, drop a comment in the comment section and I'll make a video on that. Thank you very much for staying tuned, and bye.